Hello, I'm making a recording of teamwork. So you can go back to this video if you would have questions at a later time, or you can actually watch this video in your most convenient schedule. So what I'm going to talk about would be two things. We will have a modified sprint rhythm and we are moving to teamwork. So in terms of the modified sprint rhythm, you can find the file in the Linux repository within the rhythms folder, and you should find sprint rhythm. So this is this is a table that outlines what has to happen within a sprint. So day zero, or just before the sprint starts, is where the planning happens. And in the planning, there are three main categories or three main points. One would be dumping all the cards in one location, and that is our backlog in teamwork. So when you go to teamwork and you select projects, you should see two projects. That's how teamwork calls it. One is called backlog and the other one is called sprint 2. Naturally, as we progress to the next sprints, we would then have sprint 3, 4, 5, and 6. So going back, our rhythm has the planning stage where we put all our cards or all the things we wanted to do in the backlog. Please note that putting it in the backlog is like a reservoir of ideas and tasks, but it doesn't mean that you will already do it. And you will probably understand that as I continue to discuss. So after all the cards are there, there is a goal setting for the next 2 weeks, or what are the goals for the succeeding for the upcoming sprints or sprint, and that is primarily driven by flow. Um, Once that is actually set, we decide which cards will have to be actioned. So what we do is we go to backlog. We look at all the cards in the backlog and pick which ones would be most urgent to be actioned the following sprint. Once that is selected and agreed, we move that card to sprint project. In this case, I'm showing you sprint 2. So again, to give you an idea, all the all the cards, all the ideas of tasks will go into the backlog. This will undergo a backlog refinement and prioritization. Whatever is selected will then go to sprint 2. That being said, when you go to sprint 2, there are two lists. In that sprint, there is a list for non-BAU, and those are the projects, once-off activities, and etc. So the non-BAU list will have to be only done by Flo, Charles, Angel, or myself. And the list under, or the things under this list will be coming from the backlog. Please refrain from adding anything into the sprint project in the non-BAU list because these are the prioritized tasks based on the organization's goal for that particular sprint. On the other list, however, which is sprint BAU, your business as usual, you don't necessarily have to put it in the backlog because the things that you would put there are expected to be, again, your typical work. But nonetheless, we need to have that carded or recorded in the sprint. So we have a view of the capacity and the output of every individual per sprint. That goes into the sprint BAU. So let me just get a copy of my cheat sheet. So going back to the rhythm, Um, just before the sprint starts, the sprint non-BAU cards will be populated by the SLT or senior leaders. The sprint BAU cards, on the other hand, will have to be populated by everybody. If you need to discuss it with your one-up, feel free to do so. And that output will be the sprint 2 output, and that is found in teamwork. So the following Monday, days 1 to 9, would be your doing. So that's when you will action the cards. If there are any things that, if there is anything that has to be done within the week, we will call it an ad hoc. And we will have to talk about that within the SLT and who should do that work. If ever a card has to be added to someone's plate, you will be notified and that card will be added into Sprint 2. And of course, we have the showcase. We will have the showcase every 10th day. So just to give you an idea, I'm navigating to the Sprint 2 project, and I'm going to the milestones because this gives me a calendar view. So today is Friday. On Monday, Sprint starts, and then the following Thursday, Sprint ends. The showcase will happen on Friday, and then Sprint 3 planning will happen on that same day. On the 24th, Sprint 3 will start, and so on and so forth. So, introducing teamwork, everybody should have access to teamwork already, and you should have, again, when you open your teamwork, when you go to projects, you should have 2 projects, at least backlog and sprint 2. If you don't have that, please let me know so we can arrange for your access. Now, again, the projects, the backlog and sprint 2, as we progress, we will have sprint 3, 4, etc. I think we've already covered what the backlog is for. We've also covered the BAU and non-BAU who can add to the backlog. And again, who can add to the backlog? Everyone. Who can add into Sprint BAU, SLT. Who can add into Sprint non-BAU? Everyone. Tips on using teamwork. So I highly suggest that when you are in either projects, I would suggest to start with table, because it's, for me personally, it's a more comfortable view because it's listing the tasks in a tabular form. You also have a board view where you can drag a card from one column to another. And then most importantly, another good function of teamwork is it has the ability to um, record the estimated time. So if I navigate back the table and I expand this view, the non-BAU, let's wait for it to come up.